Hi everybody, I'm Mike and it's time for another Mondays with Mike. That would be why it's Monday and I'm Mike. What we do on this little show is we always answer questions that you send in, so I'd encourage you to send in lots of questions to, I think it's mondayswithmike at thestavergroup.com. But you can go to thestavergroup.com and send us some questions. Here's the question this week. I was recently blindsided by some feedback given to me in a group setting. While the feedback will likely prove useful, the way it was delivered was inappropriate from my point of view. Apparently not from the group's point of view. In retrospect, I should have stopped it when it started, but I didn't. I was taken by surprise and allowed it to continue. My question is not how should I have handled that, but rather what is the best way to deliver feedback when a group wants to give an individual feedback. I was recently blindsided by some feedback given to me in a group setting. Well, that's the first problem. Rule number one, if you're going to be in a group and give an individual feedback, is that you need to ask permission in advance of the group meeting. Now, unless it's critical, unless this doesn't say you were doing some intervention on somebody that had some drug or alcohol problem, but the bottom line is that to blindside somebody in front of a group when the whole group has apparently conspired in advance to give you this feedback is an unfair position to place you in. And so I think you are absolutely appropriate to believe it was inappropriate, because it was. So let me give you a couple of rules. The first rule, several rules. The first rule is you always ask the person who you're going to give the feedback to for permission, like this. You know, the group was having a conversation and we seem to have some similar thoughts about some things going on with you, your department, your working group, whatever it is. I don't know the context of this feedback. And we would like to know if you would be willing to listen to us share some of that feedback. And it will only, and number two, so the number two rule is it needs to always come from a place of positive intent. So you need to always lead with the degree of caring, the degree of respect, the degree of positive affirmation you have for the person you're going to give the feedback to. Because as you discovered, and as those of you watching have probably discovered, if you immediately get, and I'm assuming this feedback wasn't particularly comfortable, although it will likely prove useful in the future, it can be pretty rough. So number one, you need to ask permission to give an individual feedback in a group setting. Number two, you need to always come from positive intent and share the affinity, warmth, respect you have for the person while giving that feedback. And number three, you need to always finish with the most positive elements of the conversation. Here's what we would suggest, blah, 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 blah. And here are all the things that we think are working really well. Those are the three rules that I generally follow when it comes to that. Now, here's something very important I'll finish with. If the issue is an individual issue with the person getting the feedback and another person in the group, that should never be held in a group setting. Otherwise, it feels like you're ganging up on the person. If the feedback you're going to give is because the entire group is experiencing conflict or problems with this particular person, issue, behavior, whatever it is, then you can talk about it in a group. Where groups often go sideways is that there's an individual issue with the person receiving the feedback and the whole group jumps in. Feels a little bit like ganging up on, and you're not likely to win friends and influence people, if you know what I mean. I hope that's helpful, and I hope you are able to apply the feedback. Bravo to you. Very mature of you to be able to use that feedback even though you were blindsided and felt disrespected. Take care. We'll see you next week. Mondays with Mike.